Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, it's Matt here. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favourite podcasts that I used to listen to Japanese and actually learn the language, as well as ones that I am currently also using as well. And basically the reason why I'm making this video is because I do get questions every now and then from people just saying, you know, I want to start learning Japanese, but I don't know where to start, and I don't know what content is out there, what immersion material is out there, and I struggle to find that stuff. For reading and stuff in the past, I've pointed people to my website where I have a very small reading list of books that I've read with the difficulty level and stuff put next to it with a brief description. And while it's nowhere near extensive, that is a start if you are interested in looking at that and getting into Japanese reading. So I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Yeah, I haven't done anything really for listening material. So if you enjoy this video and find it useful and think that, you know, perhaps I should do more content like this and do like my favorite anime, my favorite films or whatever, then by all means I will do those videos as well. And as I say, the reason why I did this is because I was in that position as well. I was stuck in that boat of struggling to find content, and for reading personally, I resorted to the AJAT website, and for listening and stuff, you know, I would get suggestions here and there from friends, but a lot of the times, most of my content came from suggestions from my now girlfriend, Natsumi, and so yeah, and for podcasts, I kind of just found stuff myself over the years. There wasn't too many podcasts I listened to at the beginning, except one, which I'll get into in a bit. Let's get straight into it. So the very first podcast we're going to be talking about is 話し方の話。
今回のテーマはやっぱりインプットは大事です。
It's a speech coach, someone who has done their entire professional career in, you know, having a professional voice and training their voice in order to sound professional doing shows. I think she's done like news anchor stuff, and now she's a speech coach, and she talks all things about speech and how to present yourself and how to talk well and communicate with others on her podcast. Now the podcast episodes are very short, they're like less than 10 minutes. But they have a lot of decent information in them. Really good advice that I think is useful for anyone from the beginner stage all the way up to the advanced stage. It's not aimed directly at people learning a language. It is aimed at Japanese speakers. So it is more precise and more descriptive, I suppose, in that sense. It's less of like how to do it in a language learning sense, and more of how to do it as just, you know, a normal Japanese person speaking Japanese. And the reason why I wanted to introduce this one is obviously because of the content. The content's such a good resource in my opinion, but also namely because the language used and the way she speaks, the way she presents the whole podcast is very, very easy to understand. I would recommend this highly to beginners all the way up through to advanced learners. You know, the vocab used and the grammar used is very short, very sweet, very easy to, as I say, understand and comprehend. And as we know, if things are easy to comprehend, then you're going to be able to acquire more language. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this one. Really interesting topics as well, and you know, they're very bite-sized, so they're very easy to get into. And yeah, highly recommend this one. I think it's a really, really good one to get into. Hey, if you're finding this video useful so far, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm push this video to more people and help them to learn languages. So if you could do that, that would be brilliant, and it really helps the channel as well. So thank you so much. The second one is はまよこ夫婦。
せーの、こんにちは、はまよこ夫婦です。この番組、はまよこ夫婦のゆるキャリ暮らしでは、20代共働き夫婦と1歳児息子の日常、ライフスタイル、2人の考え方などを夫婦対談形式でお届けします。
And this one is just a couple that talk about their lives, talk about bringing up a baby and, you know, being together, different things to do with their jobs and daily routines, all sorts of different things like that. And so the language used is quite generic, it's daily conversational, and it's between two people who are very close together. So you know, you get a sense of how conversations go between two people at a casual level. And I think that is very useful, and it's very hard to normally get that kind of content, very hard to get that kind of immersion from TV, anime, and that kind of stuff. And so, in my opinion, this is one of the better resources out there. In fact, it's probably one of the best things you could probably be listening to in terms of trying to improve your conversational ability. And so I'd highly recommend this one for all of you guys to check out, especially because you've got both the female sort of speech pattern and the male speech pattern, and so you can kind of take from that depending on you know, who you are, and you can take certain speech patterns from that and trying to incorporate them into your Japanese if you are at the point of trying to practice speaking. And so definitely recommend this one. The language is probably a bit more complicated than the first one, but it's still, again, it's daily conversational. It's not too complicated. And so I would highly recommend getting into it. The next one is 渡辺夫婦のふたりごと。
渡辺夫婦の二人ごとは、脱サラ動画クリエイターで不動産投資家の結婚5年目夫婦が自分らしく生きるをテーマに日々の出来事や考えていることを本音でお話しする番組です。
This one is kind of similar to the last one in a sense. The titles are very similar. So this one's about a chap from the Kansai region who talks about his journey with YouTube, real estate, and also, with his wife and, that kind of stuff, relationship stuff. He get guests on and talk about all sorts of different topics each week. And so, again, it's quite an interesting podcast, very similar to the last one. The episodes aren't quite as long. But the reason I wanted to put this one in here is because it gives you a bit of a taste of the Kansai dialect. Kansai dialect, as I'm sure a lot of you know, is quite a popular dialect in Japanese. And so you're likely going to come across it in TV and or out and about. If you're actually in Japan, if you're in Tokyo, you'll probably meet some people from Kansai or from the Kansai region. And so, you kind of need to be able to understand it. So you don't necessarily need to be able to speak it. Obviously, if you want to try and learn how to do that, there are people that have done it. And this would be a good resource for that. But at the very least, you need to be able to understand it and be able to kind of figure out what they are saying, because they do use different words. They do use slightly different ways of speaking. And so this is a great resource to sort of ease into that, because from what I've listened to of them, they're not super strong in their dialect, but it's enough to sort of be like, oh, okay, that's different. Like, oh, they see things like this. Oh, they do, they see things like this. And so it could be kind of helpful for you guys who are interested in getting used to a bit of Kansai. しゃべりすぎGAMER is the next one.
はい、皆さん、こんにちは。第309回のしゃべりすぎゲーマーへようこそ。
ようこそ。
This one is a gaming podcast. The microphone quality in this one is kind of not great. But it's still a relatively decent podcast for what it is, and I would still recommend it if you are interested in gaming. It's a bunch of guys hanging out talking about video games, so it's pretty conversational. And they just talk about all sorts of different things to do with video games, different features, like do you like mini-maps or whatever. And so because my audience is my audience, and a lot of you guys are guys of a younger age, a lot of you will probably be interested in video games, so this might be one to give it a little bit of a try. You might enjoy it, you might not, whatever, but at least give it a try because it could be interesting for you. The next one is おしゃべりな図書室。
おしゃべりな図書室では、水曜日の夜にほっとできて明日が楽しみになるをテーマに、皆様からのお便りをもとにおすすめの本や漫画、紙フレーズをご紹介します。
And again, this one is kind of like if you're interested in reading, then it might be kind of interesting to you. It's one that I've listened to for a few episodes, and I've got some book recommendations from it. But it's essentially just a girl who talks about some books that she's found interesting, or certain phrases she finds interesting, or whatever, some pieces of literature, and then talks about them, discusses them. The sort of atmosphere of the podcast is very soothing. It's very relaxing, and so it's ideal to listen to before bed, for example. It's quite a sort of a chill podcast, I guess. And I would highly recommend this if you are kind of interested in just reading. Obviously, there's not any specific genre she gets into, but like if you're interested in reading at all, then give it a go. You might get some interesting book recommendations from this. The language will be a little bit harder. Might be a bit harder to understand, especially if she's talking about topics and books that you've never read before. But give it a go. It's quite a nice little podcast, very chill, very relaxing. So the next one is going to be for guys that are interested in the economy and stuff, which might not be everybody, so I will keep this one brief. This one is かぶりつきマーケット情報局。
金曜夕方はラジオにかぶりつき、進行の有津さやかです。さて今回もこの方々とお送りしていきます。ビーコミさんこと坂本慎太郎さん、そしてスパローズ大和和孝さんです。よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
It is for anybody who's interested in the economy, especially the economy of Japan, stocks, the stock market, that kind of thing. And this one's run by Radio Nikkei, but Nikkei is pretty big. They do like news and stuff. And so it's very high quality. Lots of business lingo, lots of obviously economics lingo, lots of different things, you know, that you can pick up on if you're trying to get into the professional side of Japanese and you're trying to sort of improve your keigo and stuff like that. Obviously, it can be a little bit dry, especially if you're not interested in that kind of stuff. But for someone who is, then it might be very interesting for you. So that one is definitely worth a check if you are interested. I will include this one very briefly. It's not one that I've actually listened to that often. I think I listened to 1 or 2 episodes, but it's an extra piece of content that some of you might find interesting. If you are someone who's interested in board games, you might want to try 朝までウボンゴ。
朝までウボンゴ番外編ゆるんご始まりました。
The guy just talks about all these different board games he's tried, and so he buys different board games each episode, talks about them. Might be kind of interesting if it's something, you know, you find interesting, but yeah, just thought I'd include it very quickly. Another one quickly that I wanted to include, which I've listened to a few times, but it's not one of my ones that I listen to all the time, and that is マネーのとびら。
皆さんこんにちは、タレントのレイナです。この番組は誰もが知っておきたいお金周りのニュースや知識について、マネー初心者の私が日経のマネーの達人にじっくり解説してもらうというものです。
It's basically a money advice, like how to use your money in certain ways to make it go further, I guess. And I listened to a few episodes, and it's of very high quality. The audio quality is very high. And whether or not the advice is good, I don't remember, because, as I say, it's only been a few episodes and it's been a long time, but it might be another interesting one to try. Now, the next one is probably my favorite podcast overall. It is one that I started listening to at the very beginning of learning Japanese, and I still listen to it to this day. And that podcast is called Rebuild.
月曜日の朝8時なんでみんな死んでるんじゃないですかね。ゾンビみたいになって。
この間なんか白郎さんはいつも朝っていうか昼なんだけど、いつも寝てるから日本時間の夜中にやればいいんじゃないか説が出てました。
The reason why I like this one so much, and the reason why I got into it so early on as well, is because it's kind of about software engineering. It's not entirely about software engineering. If you guys know me, if you guys are regular viewers of the channel, you'll know that I went to university as a software engineering student. And so Rebuild is one of those podcasts where the guys on it are software engineers. The main guy, he brings on a guest every week, whether it be a close friend or a different close friend or a guest that he knows in the industry. And when it's a guest, they tend to often talk about the guest's life and their job, their work, what things are like for them. But most of the episodes are between him and his close friends, and they tend to just talk about work, life, living in America, because I think the main guy lives in America. What's happening in the world at the moment, you know, the pandemic, what's happening over in Europe, different things like that. So global news, they tend to talk about that as well, but like on a casual scale, not like talking about it in a news station kind of way. It's all very casual, and because it's so casual, it makes it again one of the likeはまよこ夫婦, it makes it as one of my favorite podcasts because it's so conversational, and it's just between a bunch of guys talking in a conversational manner, talking about their lives, talking about daily topics that would come up in conversation between you and some close friends. And so this is one of the reasons why I highly recommend this one. Even if you aren't really interested in tech, there's still a lot of general kind of daily conversation that's in this that I think is very interesting. They do tend to talk about new Apple product releases, some manga here and there, anime here and there, all sorts of different things. So it's not just about tech. So even if you're not really interested in tech, I would still give it a try. And I think personally, it is the best podcast. For me anyway, it's been the one that served me from the get-go all the way up till now. And I've thoroughly enjoyed every episode. So I really like this one. The episodes are incredibly long as well, which makes it brilliant for passive listening. And I think it's just an absolutely incredible podcast. So I definitely give it a try. Okay, and for the last two, we've got MOOKSTUDY and Koten Radio. Both of these are about Japanese history, or history but in Japanese, because one of them is more world history, but I believe both of them do cover mainly Japanese history. And so these are for all the history buffs that are out there. I'm not sure how many of you are out there, but they're both definitely interesting podcasts that I would give a try. The topics can be a little bit more difficult to get into, especially if you don't have much of a leeway into Japanese history. I know I find personally MOOKSTUDY a lot harder to get into because the episodes are shorter.
MOOKSTUDY 日本の歴史第167回目でございます。
167回目。はい。
はい。早速ですね、リクエストフォーム読みたいと思います。
They tend to be questions from the crowd, from the audience, and so they're very niche topics, and the audience members, members, I don't know if it doesn't sound right when you talk about it in a podcast sense, but the people from their audience tend to be history students or whatever, so some of the topics get very sort of in-depth in detail on a certain person or a certain event or whatever, and obviously you need to know obviously about the existence of that event for it to really make any sense. They obviously do cover that. They will cover what exactly happened, so you know, you can still get quite a lot from it, and it's not entirely too difficult, but you know, if you don't have a very strong Japanese ability already, then it could be kind of hard. Personally, I prefer Koten Radio. Koten Radio is the episodes are much longer.
はい、前回は日清戦争についてのお話でしたということで、今回はロシアについてですね。
そうですね。
はい。
じゃあとうとう4社目のプレイヤーとしてロシアの説明をしていこうかと思うんですけれども、
They tend to discuss topics that they want to discuss and in more depth for a longer amount of time. And so, for example, they did a whole series on the world wars, and it was very interesting because it gives you kind of a new perspective. And I learned quite a lot from it. You learn, you know, all sorts of different things that I didn't know that happened during that time. And it was very, very interesting. And so I find Koten Radio is better for me personally, and it's also definitely one that you can just stick on passively and listen to much easier because the episodes are longer. But definitely give them both a try if you're even remotely interested in Japanese history, because they are both incredibly decent podcasts, and I would definitely give them a try. So yeah guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. If you want me to make more of these kinds of videos where I talk about different types of content and what my favorite types of content are, favorite anime for example, favorite films for example in Japanese, then let me know and I will be sure to make those. Hopefully it will give you guys some decent suggestions. And if any of you guys have any favorite podcasts of your own, please leave them in the comment section down below, because then that gives people more chances to find content they'll enjoy. Thanks guys, thank you for watching, and thank you very much to all the patrons who are supporting the channel, especially Harry. You guys are absolutely amazing, and yeah, thank you for continuing to support the channel even while I've been moving away on my travels and, you know, struggling with this bloody camera. So yeah guys, thank you very much, and we'll have more videos out soon. I'll see you guys in the next one.